for children pledging allegiance to the maple leaf. Mayonnaise on everything. Winter, 11 months of the year. Anne Murray, all day, every day.
Welcome back. You're listening to DeVal Morrison live on 640 Toronto. That clip is from the movie Canadian Bacon, which I believe it was John Candy's last movie. Joining us this morning is Colleen Kennedy. She is the executive director of the Canadian Club. Hi, Colleen. How are you?
Good morning, DeVal. I'm great.
Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
I'm glad to be here.
Cool. So, I remember going to the Canadian Club years ago, probably because I worked downtown, so it was kind of convenient for me. But it was certainly a great way to see some really interesting speakers. And I love that it was a lunch, and it was just really interesting and useful. Could you explain to people what it is the Canadian Club? Because I know a lot of people aren't familiar with it. And how did it get started?
So, yes, sometimes it's a mystery, but it shouldn't. It's been around since 1897, so we're in our 129th season.
Wow.
And it was started, really prescient right now, because a number of people thought that Canadians weren't talking about Canada. Even though we were a confederated country, which happened after U.S. tariffs in 1866, we decided to get together, but we still were talking about Scotland and England and the U.S. And so they thought, let's get together and talk about what's important to Canada. And it started in Hamilton, actually, in 1894, and then moved across the country. There are Canadian clubs in towns and villages all over the country still. And the purpose is really our mission is to engage Canadians in what matters most. And, you can see over the history of time what mattered to Canadians. There was railway building, and there was war. They were talking about fish refrigeration and canola being invented, and lots of different issues facing Canadians. And we still reflect that today. And it's a great place for all sorts of people to come. There's lots of interesting people that come to interact with each other and hear what people are talking about.
Yeah.
We hosted everyone from Winston Churchill, Amelia Earhart, Ronald Reagan, Margaret Thatcher, and I believe we even had Vladimir Putin in 1990.
Wow.
So it's a place to learn and see. We live stream everything now. So even if you're not in downtown Toronto, you can check them out. We're at CanadianClub.org, and people, I think of a great way to meet people. I had a friend who works at a clothing company, and he met a person in space mining, and now at the event, and now they're working on space outfits with the clothing manufacturer. So you'll never know who you're going to meet, and we really try to reflect Canada and what's important to Canadians. That's
great, and you're right. It seems like so important right now. For those people who haven't been, can you explain the format in terms of how, the lunch,
Sure.
Yeah, explain the format a little bit for people who are unaware about it?
Certainly. We usually are in a downtown hotel on the path, more often than not at the Royal York. We've been having luncheons there since it was built. And you come, and we're usually in a ballroom. It's a bit formal for people sometimes, but it really is a beautiful place. You know that everything is going to be smooth. We more often than not have chicken. You'll have a table of 10. You get to meet people. It's a good place to network. And then lunch starts at around 12, and we're starting the content at around 12:40, both online and in the room. And everyone has a chance to ask questions of the speakers, and we're usually almost always finished at 1:30, so you can count on that to get back to your office or your calls or whatever you need. But most people find that it's a really worthwhile time. We discuss every, pertinent issues of the day and upcoming, everything from aviation to tariffs, of course.
Yeah.
Lots of different election issues. So yes.
Who do you have coming up on your roster now? I think I noticed you've got, because I'm on your email list, so I noticed Bonnie Crombie was coming up. Who else do you have coming up in your speaker roster?
Yes, well, on the 19th, we're talking about diversity of boards for Black History Month, having a really great panel on why it's still important for diversity on boards. And then on Bonnie Crombie's coming on the 20th to support her election bid. We tried to have all the leaders, but with the compacted time, we've got Ms. Crombie. And on the 26th, Susanna Pierce is the country manager for Shell in Canada, and it's going to be a really interesting conversation about the energy future in Canada. And on the 27th, we're celebrating International Women's Day with Mitzi Hunter from the Canadian Women's Foundation. So lots of important conversations coming up in the next couple of weeks. And like I said, if you can't make it downtown, we are also streaming them live. And there's a whole, we still have many of our speeches and events online that you can watch afterwards as well.
Oh, cool. I did not know that, actually. That's super helpful. So
Yes.
How in the world do you guys get such high profile speakers? I mean, it sounds, you talked at the beginning and you were talking about Winston Churchill. I mean, obviously that was a long time ago, but how do you guys get such high profile speakers to come to your events?
Well, for me now, I'm really standing on the shoulders of the work that the men and women did in the past in the Canadian Club. You say, listen, will you come and join a podium and speak at a place where Winston Churchill and every prime minister except for Macdonald and Pierre Trudeau spoke? People say, yes, I want to be there. So I think the work, the history and the gravitas of the podium, it sort of helps me have a really strong board of connected people. If we're recruiting board members right now as a way to volunteer if people wanted, but it's definitely we make sure everyone has a great experience, from the speakers, sponsors, and the people in the room have a really elevated and wonderful lunch that helps build Canada. So that seems to attract people. And we're a nonprofit, and that's a really important thing. We've been a nonprofit. So during the pandemic, some of our for-profit competitors shut down, and we did over 70 events and felt that it was really important to Canadians, and we'll continue to do that, I hope, for another 100 years.
Wow, that's incredible. How much are tickets to the event?
Well, for the Royal York, being downtown, it's $100 for members and $130 for non-members, but it's free online always.
Oh, that's handy. Free online. It's funny. I didn't even realize that there was a membership. I guess somehow I must have forgotten about that.
If you want to become a member, we give away. We have get access to speaker receptions and free tickets and sometimes networking events that membership brings you.
And so how much is it to become a member then?
$125.
Oh, for the year?
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty good. Oh.
It gives you a lot of value, and it's great. And then you can also get into some of the VIP things that we run as well.
Oh, I thought you were going to say it was like the membership was like $1,000 or something like that. I was like, what? 125? No. Okay.
We really want to make sure as many people can join us in our mission as possible.
Wow, that's really incredible. Over the years, as you said, you've had some pretty interesting and high profile people. Are there any interesting, I guess, sort of stories that you have from people that you've heard speak over the last few years? Oh,
one of my favorites was Zita Cobb from the Fogo Island Inn, and talking about transforming Fogo Island and bringing, commerce and building on their past. And she talked about how Fogo Island was her salty Narnia. And I really love people's turn of phrase sometimes. We had the governor of Nevada last year, and he showed up early, and he and I got to speak, just he and I, for half an hour, and we talked about the impacts of Trump, and we talked about all the growth and diversity of Nevada. And so it's such an honor to meet these people, and sometimes I get to spend a lot longer with them than others. I'm looking forward in the spring. We're doing a event with the Terry Fox Foundation, and I've been able to work with them and learn more about that and the different partnerships we have, trying to amplify the work that other Canadians are doing, whether it's arts or sports, along with our commitment to commerce in Canada. Yeah.
Great. That sounds amazing. In fact, actually, we're going to be talking to someone from the Terry Fox Foundation coming up in a couple of minutes, really. But we're actually going to be chatting with someone from the Terry Fox Foundation. So that's great. Colleen, it's been awesome having you on air today.
Oh, it's great thank you so much for asking me. It's an honor to be a part of your Canadian celebrations this morning.
Thanks so much. Thanks for joining us, Colleen.
I hope to see you soon.
Sounds good. Absolutely.
Bye.
Bye. That was Colleen Kennedy, the executive director at the Canadian Club. I had no idea that club had been around since the 1800s. That's incredible. Anyway, so if you're looking for some great business networking and an opportunity to hear some great speakers, it's a great opportunity to come downtown to the Royal York, and you can go to the CanadianClub.org website to check out who's coming up and purchase your tickets for a luncheon.